What's good, everybody? It's the Coach, and welcome to our passion project. We like to call it 90-Day Our Way, our homage to the greatest reality series on TV today, 90 Day Fiance. We're talking happily ever after, we're talking the other way, and we kind of leave B90 Strikes Back for those that really can't get enough of this franchise. I am the Coach, my partner, the kid, Cody Merrow. Cody, how are you this week?
Hey, Coach, I'm good. I'm ready to have some fun. I think last week was probably our best episode. Let's keep the momentum going.
We had people all over the world telling us how much they love the show, and this is the best podcast when it comes to 90 Day Fiance. And I'd have to say, I agree with them. So let's get things started, and let's start with our main event.
The 90-Day Our Way main event.
Now, our main event, for people who are listening to the podcast for the very first time, this is where we put one or two storylines that are head and shoulders above the rest, and those are the ones that we focus on at the top of the show. And if you've got a marriage that is in Moldova and you've got the husband almost fighting with the brother, I mean, you got to put that number one. And Andreis and Elizabeth, they've been fighting nonstop, and in comes her dad, in comes her brother, and they are nonstop, Cody, peppering him with questions about why he moved from Moldova to Ireland years ago, which is, incidentally, I didn't realize this until this week, Cody. That's where they met. That's where Elizabeth and him met. They didn't meet in Moldova. So he won't tell them anything. He won't say anything. He's very defensive. And I got to be honest with you, I'm on the side of the father and the brother, because they just want to know what's going on, what's in his past. Why did he quit being a police officer? He wants no part of it. We ended the show with them face-to-face, chest-to-chest. Will they fight next week? Will they go fisticuffs? I can't wait to see it. What say you?
Well, Coach, I mean, you know my background. I'm more from a MMA, UFC background where the arguments are real. And I think if you're going to get in somebody's face and somebody's chest like that, you're probably not going to fight them. So I don't think it's going to come to blows. And I tend to agree with you. I was on the side of them. But I just think their delivery might have needed work. Maybe not at a table setting like that with everyone involved. You know, that feels like more a conversation, you know, over drinks. You find somebody in a corner somewhere. You talk to them about the real stuff. You know, I just didn't really like the delivery there from, you know, everyone against Andres. But, yeah, I mean, when it comes to blows, you're being that defensive. And, you know, that seems to be all Andres wants to do is be defensive and then, you know, fight somebody if it doesn't go his way. So that's really not a great situation. 5 letters, Coach. TOXIC. Toxic.
I hear what you are saying, but here's the problem I have. This is not the first time that they've asked him about his past. It's not the first time that they brought him up. Every single time that they ask him, he does this. So when you're in front of his friends that have known him his entire life or most of his life, to me, that's exactly the time that you should ask these questions. And I didn't think they were out of line. They just said, why did he move to Ireland? Simple as that. And his friend who met him and moved to Ireland with him, all of a sudden his mouth was all of a sudden shut. They weren't talking about it. And that's what I would have an issue with. Why can't you tell me, when I'm the father of the woman that you married and you had a child with, why can you not tell me why you moved from a country? It would be like, Cody, if you moved from the United States to, I don't know, Germany, and you married somebody and their father asked you, why in the world would you move from your home country to Germany? Wouldn't you think that would be a viable question to ask you?
Coach, that's unreasonable. That's bullshit. We're going to go outside. We're going to go outside.
Right now. Let's go outside. And Andres, I love when he speaks in his broken English and he starts to get upset, because now he's had his manhood called into question because he's a stay-at-home dad, and Elizabeth has had it. She's like, wait a second. I want you to go back to work. Are you okay with this? And his friends in his country say the man always works. That's how our culture is. And the women stay home. So it's completely reverse of what it normally is in Moldova. And I can't understand why Andres at this point, I just think that he's feeling small. I feel like he's feeling like he used to be the man. He got this really cute girl from the United States. He had a baby with her. He lives in the U.S. And now all of a sudden he has a homecoming. And I don't think the homecoming is going the way that he would have liked or he would have thought. Do you think, a yes or no answer, do you think they ultimately go through with this second wedding?
Yes.
Okay. All right, fair enough. We will leave it right there, but rest assured, next week, I can almost guarantee it. I don't like to produce ahead of time, but when you leave a cliffhanger like that on the show, I'm putting it right back in the main event next week. I want to see some blows. I want to see some fist throwing inside the restaurant. That's what we got to do. All right, storyline number 2 in our little thing we like to call the main event, and we go back to South Korea. Our good friends Devin and Jihoon. When last we left them, Devin was over it. Her mother was over it. They were ready to get on a plane and come back to the United States and raise her 2 kids, one of those being Jihoon's, back here in America. And the comedy of errors that has happened last week and this week, Cody, it's almost like you can't even believe that a 29-year-old man is in this situation, in a family situation where the mother not only wears the pants, but she also carries the wallet, apparently. Have you ever seen in your life a relationship hanging in the balance, and the thing that saves it temporarily is the $3,000 that he says he had that he gave to his mother instead of giving it to Devin to take care of the kids? And she goes, hey, if you've got the $3,000, I want it, and I want it now. And they went to the ATM. They went to the ATM. What did you make of that?
What I made of it is, if you've ever tried to take $3,000 out of an ATM, that's a couple withdrawals. So they were probably there for a long time.
But in my world, it's 3. It's 3 withdrawals in my bank.
I couldn't believe it. Just felt like something out of a movie. And we all know how reality TV works. We don't know the selective editing. That could have been an hour-long trip. We have no idea. She's sitting there practically in tears saying, I need to go home, waiting on this $3,000. Jihoon's dad's up in the apartment sitting there like, damn, this shit again. And I mean, it's just so comical that it doesn't even seem real, but it is real.
At one point, they left the baby in the restaurant and with the father, and then they did the little interviews where they stand there, and the father was defending Devin. She's like, listen, she doesn't trust him. She's lost all of his trust in our son. And that's exactly, and that's my biggest bitch with these reality shows, especially this franchise, is that there's not more normal people to be straight with the people that are involved in these relationships. So Jihoon's mother then makes her husband leave so she can say exactly what she wants to say, which is defending her son. And at some point, you got to take the mouth off the teat. You know what I mean? After 29 years, you're allowing your son to live at home. You're taking his money and making sure he doesn't spend it. At some point, he's got to be able to take care of himself because now he's got a baby. And quit defending him. Quit saying that Devin's wrong because she believes that Devin is wrong. I said this to you 3 weeks ago, that I didn't believe that this relationship would ultimately work. Even though she's decided to stay for another month and they got another apartment and she has the $3,000 in her hand, do you think this relationship lasts for, let's say, longer than 6 more months? Do you think so?
Absolutely not. 6 months? No way. I think that relationship lasts about as long as a flight back to America with the $3,000 in hand.
Oh man, I think she blows out of the city too. I think she's going to take that cash. And I thought it was comical. If we were doing Say What this week, then this line would be in Say What? When she said, it's not about the money. It's about me trusting him again. Do you know how many times my ex-wife said that to me in the last 7 years? It's not about the money. I just want to trust you again. Stop it. It's always about the money. And the fact is, he hasn't given her one dime for diapers, for a crib, for clothes, for nothing. And that's where I have a problem. As a father who takes pride in how I take care of my kids, when I see a father, I don't care where they come from. I don't care what country they're in. You've got a job to do. Take care of your business. And he is not doing it. I don't think he's capable of doing it. I don't think his parents have prepared him to be capable of doing it. And at this point, I think we're probably 1 or 2 episodes tops away from Devin setting sail back to the United States. And some poor schlub is going to be dating and marrying a woman and saying, wait a second, how did you get these 2 kids? And then she's going to have to explain all that because the two kids look completely different because they had two different dads. Let's just be honest. They just did. But they are two of my favorites. I love talking about them, and I hope they end up together. I just don't think they will. And that is our main event.
Grow up. Grow up.
Okay, it's time for our segment of Grow Up. And to be honest with you, the entire show could be called this every single week, I would think. And we're going to start down in Colombia. And our boy Tim, who his girlfriend, I always have to spell it, Melyza, Melyza. And this is a couple that probably 2 years ago, we would have looked at on this show and been like, you know what, they're going to make it. They're going to live in the United States and they're going to make it. We now know he got caught cheating on social media. Still can't figure out how you're so stupid to get caught cheating when she lives in Colombia, comes to live with you, and then gets caught. Dumb. Regardless, he's now moving full-time to Colombia. Her mother knows, and her mother ain't having it. Not having it at all. But she doesn't tell her father. So it's a very awkward first dinner when he shows up. And I've seen some pictures of him from before, but they both, the girlfriend and the mom, tell him how fat he has become. I'm like, damn! The brother just got here. He moved his entire life here. And all you can say is you're fat? How much weight have you gained? And I question Tim for this reason. Both of these women, no matter what they say they're going to do, Cody, they're never going to let this go. They're never going to make it a clean slate, draw a line in the sand and say, okay, from this moment on, we're going to be together and nothing else matters. And for that reason, I feel like Tim is fighting an uphill battle, and I don't believe there's anything he can do or will do to get them back on his side. And ultimately, it's going to crash and burn because when Dad finds out, and he will find out, it's going to be all hell to pay.
Well, I mean, people forgive, people don't forget. It doesn't matter what language you're speaking. And just like you said, it's not something he's going to be able to get away from. And I'll tell you what, you might have seen pictures of Tim, looking a little different, whatever. But the mom made Tim look like glass. She saw right through everything he was saying. Every single thing that came out of his mouth was just getting ripped to shreds. Do you think that that's going to continue? Obviously. So, maybe might want to start booking that round trip as soon as possible.
I'm guessing that we're going to find out he has a round trip already booked because we know that he didn't get rid of the house. We know that his job's on hold. So Tim may not be as stupid as we think he is because he didn't completely leave everything behind. But to your point about her shredding him, he's a magician at bringing the waterworks and bringing the tears when he's talking about, I was just being selfish. I don't know what I was thinking. It was my animal needs, whatever. Bro, you cheated on her. You were an idiot because somehow you put pictures on social media and you got caught. Own it. Quit making excuses. But sometimes no matter how much you love somebody, Cody, it's just not going to work because you do that. And once you break that trust, now I know a lot of women and men who look at life in the totality of this is going to be 80 years and this is a blip. That's how I look at things. You got to be able to forgive and forget. And sometimes you have people in your lives that that make mistakes, but you want to keep them there. Most people can't get past that. And that's why they're miserable for most of their lives because they leave somebody really good behind as if you're supposed to be perfect all the time in a relationship. Nobody's perfect in a relationship. Sometimes it happens, especially when you're living in Colombia and the other person is living in the United States. I don't know what she expected him to do. But if you're going to do it, just like Chris Carter once said, don't get caught. Just don't get caught. So come on, Tim. But this grow up is not for Tim. It's for the girlfriend. It's for the mother. You both need to grow up, forgive him, and let's move on. All right, storyline number 2. And if you put a picture of grow up in the dictionary, Cody, these two pictures would be there. Larissa from Brazil, the sex pot, the hot, dark-haired brunette. And she gets back with Eric, who on the surface, because I didn't really see him before the season, seemed like a decent guy. And we're hearing all these nasty stories about things that he's saying, stuff he's saying about her, horrible things. And all of a sudden, she takes the phone that she gave him apparently originally, and she finds all these messages and calls another girl. She has a bad habit of calling all these ex-girlfriends. And the stuff that they were telling her was disgusting. And when he got home, they had a fight to end all fights, and his nasty side came out. And I understand now, Cody, why all of Larissa's friends said, if you go back with him, you're out. We don't want anything to do with him. And I appreciate that, because that dude is an absolute jerk, and the way he treats her is horrible. And I'm not saying that she deserves to get him back, but nobody deserves to be treated that way. And I think this has disaster and cops being called yet again written all over it.
I mean, call me crazy or call me sane, but stolen cell phone looking through, calling exes, criminal attorney, deported. How many of these words are good? Not a single one. So why are they even bothering? I have no idea. I can't put myself in their shoes. I'm a very empathetic person. I feel like I can do a great job of trying to understand from the other side of the table. This table's flipped completely on its side. I have no idea how I can possibly support what this is going on. And I agree with you. I think her friends were in the right to say, hey, here's the line in the sand, and if you cross it, don't think to come back with the tide.
You know what I think it is? I think that Eric is receiving a paycheck from TLC, whatever the network is. I did read a story that the American people on the show get around $1,000 per episode. So if that is true, then I could understand if he's as cheap as she says he is. I can understand that if he wants to be in 3, 4, 5 episodes, that'd be $5 to $10 grand that he's probably putting in his pocket. That's the only reason that I can believe, Cody, that he would go back into this train wreck of a relationship with a person that clearly wants to be taken care of, clearly wants a green card, clearly needs somebody to stay in the United States, and she's an absolute hot mess. And there's no other way about it. But I think at her core, she's got a good heart. I mean, for God's sake, she fell and married Colt. Colt! The same man who was wearing a Speedo last week on the beaches of Brazil. Colt. It didn't make any sense then. It doesn't make any sense now. Larissa and Eric, both of you need to just grow up. All right, our final couple in this segment, Asuela and Kalani. Now, we've said for several weeks now, Kalani, her words actually, like she said, it's like battling a teenager half the time. So now they're going to visit his mother and his sister in Washington. Apparently in the Samoan culture, it is tradition that you take gifts, but more importantly, you take cash, and you give them cash. So we picked the storyline up this week, Cody, as they're going shopping in a Samoan store that had shirts, that had shorts, and it also had food, all in the same store. And as they're going through it, of course, Kalana's like, listen, we don't have this kind of money. He's like, well, I think we should get the gifts and we should give them money. She's like, really? Where are you going to get it from? You going to work some more? No, God will provide. And she rolls her eyes, and I'm rolling my eyes. And they end up spending $200 on gifts, Cody. And then he still wants to take cash, they asked for $1,000, to his mom. At what point does Asuela say, listen, I can't do this. I'm working part-time. She said he only makes less than $1,000 a month. So that means he's making less than $12,000 a year. And he wants to take $1,000 and give it to his mom? What's that all about?
I mean, that's all about 1/12 of your annual income going to your mom. And on the phone, you know, her attitude spoke volumes. It changed like a flip switch because she went from being so positive and, oh, I pray all the time for the family and that, to, I need my money. I need my $3,000.
Just like your
$1,000 right now. And then on the other side of the screen, I think it must have been his mom, right? And she was like, I told you how this is supposed to go. He was getting interrogated. He might as well have had a gun to his head.
It's crazy. And I've never been around the Samoan culture that much. But Kalani said, she goes, I'm starting to think that it's not about the culture, but it's about the fact that he just wants to be loved by his parents and his sister. And I think they're right. I think he feels like he's been ostracized because he decided to move to the United States. And now he's in a situation that he thinks $1,000. Well, guess what's going to happen? Let's say he gives them $1,000. Then 2, 3, 4 months down the line, they're going to be asking for more money and more money and more money. And it's never going to stop because in their minds, if you live in the United States, you make millions. Everybody believes that from people outside of the country. It's just not true. It's just not the case. We clearly know he doesn't make that much money. So his mother, his sister, and himself, you all three need to grow up. Okay, it's time for my favorite segment of the week. We like to call it One Word. We tackle a few of the topics, a few of the couples, and we give one-word answers. Cody, what's up first?
Well, Coach, Colt's mom strategically told Colt that Vanessa was watching the cats back home. What do you think about this type of cunning move?
Oh, my one word is conniving. She knows exactly what she's doing. She tells Jess in front of Colt about Vanessa, who, by the way, looks a lot like Larissa and is very, very attractive. I'm trying to figure out what exactly Colt has to get all these hot women to like him, because I know they're friends, but she's really, really pretty. And Colt's mother knew that this would set Jess off. She knew that no matter what she said, what the real situation was, that Jess would think that Vanessa's doing this because she calls Colt all the time. And that would set her off. Colt's mother does not want Jess. And she's done everything in her power during this trip to Brazil. And I'll give Jess a lot of credit. She overlooked it. She was the bigger person. She's moved on, but now she's angry. Now she's pissed, and she storms out. Well, what does Colt do? Colt sits there and does not go after her, and then just talks to his mother. And I'm like, wait a second. At some point, you've got to stop protecting your mom, who's clearly conniving, who clearly is diabolical, clearly is devious, and say, if you ever want to have a productive, good relationship with somebody who wants to be with you, because I don't think Colt realizes it's not that easy to find a female to be with you. He's just gotten lucky in Brazil. That's it. But his mother, she wants none of it. My one word for her, conniving. Next
up, we got our boy Binyam, who, while he's not fighting punching bags, he's in there trying to get a good money, trying to earn for his family, trying to show Ariella and her mom that he can provide by dancing with his ex-girlfriend at a booty club. Coach, one word.
My one word is stupid. How stupid can you be that he was playing the drums on her booty, baby? And I'm sitting there, I loved how the camera went right back and forth. And Ariella, I'm not jealous. Oh, Mom, that's ex-girlfriend. Oh, it was years ago. And the mother is doing everything in her power to make her daughter understand when your butt's home with the baby at 2 a.m. and he's out here playing the drums on the butt, what do you think's going to happen after that? I'm still trying to figure out, because Binyam will not give a direct answer, why his first American wife, who he had a child with, up and left and came back to the United States. We just don't know exactly what happened, other than the fact that he was getting a few text messages from girls. But Mama ain't having it, and she's getting more and more stiff. I think Ariella is starting to see that maybe living in Ethiopia with the lifestyle that she's accustomed to is not exactly what she thought it was going to be cracked up to be. Now, her parents are wealthy. We know that. Mom's a nurse, dad's a doctor. And they're not going to allow her to live in squalor. But there's only so nice of a place that you can get in Ethiopia. And Binyam's certainly not going to do it with his dancing salary and his music salary. Do you think, and I actually watched a little bit of a spoiler, and I hate people to do that, but I did it to see if they were going to last long term. Do you think she's going to stay in Ethiopia? What does your gut tell you, Cody?
I mean, the gut tells me that the fans are going to be mad at you for looking at spoilers, but I don't think that it's going to last. I just don't see any way that she's going to want that. Every time she's in a confessional, she's kind of laughing about the situation, so I don't think it's serious.
I don't either. And he's going to have 2 American wives, 2 babies that he's not going to be able to see. That would rip my heart out. and there's nothing he's going to be able to do about it. They're American babies. They can take them back if they want to, and unless he gets a visa, nothing he can do. Nothing he can do. All right, next.
At 54 years old, Angie is living in fantasy land. Coach, one word.
Desperate. I mean, she's desperate to keep Michael, who's 31 years old. Every time that he's around other women, she gets jealous. And all these trips to the doctor, almost having cancer, I feel for her. I understand what she's going through. She probably has never had a good relationship because a lot of women like her who haven't will do whatever it takes to keep the man that's in love with them. That is admirable. Well, let's be honest. It's not safe to try and have a baby at 54 years old. It's not realistic to try to have a baby at 54 years of age. And I just wish that more people in her life, and I know her daughter has already said this, but her doctor needs to tell her, her lawyer needs to tell her, listen, you're past the age where you can have a baby. Not a baby safely. You're past the age you can have a baby. Because if she does, she'd be like close to the Guinness Book of World Records at 54 years of age. It's just desperate at this point to keep her man. And I'll give Michael a lot of credit. He didn't just say, you know what, no big deal. We don't need to have one. He says, it's important to me. And if Angie Cody would just let him have the other wives that he wants to have, it would be all good. Wouldn't have to worry about it. Do you think that Angie will ever get to a point where she's cool with the Nigerian ways of having other women as wives?
Absolutely not. I mean, her reaction when her lawyer brought up to her the fact that if she didn't have a will, that everything was going to go to Michael if she died, and she goes, that ain't going to happen.
Ain't going to happen.
That's all you needed right there.
All you need to know. You know, you're exactly right. I do feel sometimes sadness and for a lot of these couples, because, heck, I'm single. I don't like being single, and I could not be single if I chose to. Nobody wants to be alone. Right? Nobody stands up and goes, hey, can I be alone so I get it? But the lengths that they go to, and to me, there is nothing crazier than being 54 years of age and trying to have a baby. It just screams of desperation, and I want to keep my man. And that, unfortunately, is too bad. And that is our one-word segment. Now, before we wrap up the show, so we do this in 30 minutes or less every single week if you're listening, next week, a little bonus information for you. Armando and Kenny, they are back on the show. Kenny is ready to propose to Armando, who's very, very uncomfortable, Cody, with affection between him and his boyfriend in Mexico. How do you think he's going to feel about Kenny popping the question? Because they do a great job of showing it, but not showing his answer.
Well, I just don't want to have tissues ready. I think he's going to get so emotional that it's just going to be overwhelming.
I think you like Kenny and Armando a little bit too much for this show. They're our favorites. I love them too. I want them to do well. I want them to make it. And I think at this point, Armando's got to tell Kenny, slow your roll. Now, remember, he's 57 years old. He looks like he's 37. And Kenny's, for him, it's sped up. Armando's only 31 years old. And to him, there is no rush. But we'll find out next week how he accepts the proposal and if he agrees to marry Kenny, which was the plan all along. And also a little bonus look ahead. Our girl Brittany is back next week, and her and Jordan, the country of Jordan, I might add, they're getting in fights again. She's storming out of a car again. She's walking away. I don't want anything to do with you again. So far, it's been the parents, it's been him, it's been everybody. I think she's ready to get on a plane and come back to the United States, too. We'll find out next week exactly what happens to Brittany. I think she needs a good old American man to take care of her. And I say that I'll do it. She might be a little young for me. I think she's 26, but I could live with that. I could live with that. How about you? Maybe that'd be better for you, Cody.
Hey, man, AJ nothing but a number.
Half the time, whenever I go out with women who are like 30, 32, most people think we're the same age anyway, and it really makes them angry.
Same, Coach. Right? When I'm out with women that are 31, 32, they say the same thing.
Me and you rolling the same, dog, rolling the same. All right, that's going to do it for this week. We do it in less than 30 minutes every single week. It's called 90 Day Our Way, our homage to the 90 Day Fiance franchise. Next week, you want to join us for sure because we've got a lot more good stuff to get to. For the kid, Cody Merrow, I'm the coach, and I know what you're hoping for. We're trying to track down Annie. We're trying to track down Big Ed and get them on the show. We're working on it. We're expanding. We'll get there. All right, have a great week, everybody. And don't forget, this has been 90 days our way. See ya.